Hello, and welcome to the Salesforce Center podcast by MassMailer, where we connect with Salesforce experts, customers, and innovators to discuss smarter, more effective email communication within Salesforce. I'm your host, 𝗟𝗓𝗧𝗦, co-founder of MassMailer. In this episode, I will be joined by 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗏 from UMass Boston, a university in Massachusetts. Gail will share how MassMailer for Salesforce improved their organization's email communication. Let us dive right in.
My name is 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗏. I work at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and my role, I'm the Assistant Vice Provost for Student Equity, Access, and Success Unit. And what we do in our unit is provide students with academic support like tutoring, coaching, advising, disability services, and career development. And just to say a little bit about UMass Boston, we're Boston's only public research university with about 15,000 students.
Wow.
And we have a strategic plan that prioritizes holistic student success for a very diverse population of students. And then just to let you know what specifically my role is focused on, it's enhancing and aligning academic advising across the university to ensure that students have continuity through their academic experience. And a big part of being able to do that is our Salesforce advising case management tool.
Yeah, nice to hear. So you've been using Salesforce for quite some time then?
Yes.
Okay. And this is across the entire university, or is it specific to a few departments? Or
So it's actually across all the academic advising units at UMass Boston. So we're made up of 8 schools and colleges, and we also have some centralized services. So my area, we use the acronym CEES. We kind of, along with the provost office, host the advising case management tool, which is Salesforce. And we've worked very hard over time to build up usage and expand what we're able to do with our Salesforce tool. So we use it for advising to create a holistic kind of portrait of every student that we're working with and taking notes on their academic advising needs and services. And at UMass Boston, students will often change majors over time. So we use it as a communication tool between advising offices. So we have a history of student need and support. And then we also use it for a lot of outreach to students to help students kind of stay on track and make progress toward earning their degree.
Oh, okay. And how did it all start, right? Like, what were you using before MassMailer? What were the tools that you were using for communication? If you can give me a little bit of a background about that as well.
Yeah, so we were, as we built up our Salesforce platform, we kind of built it over time to be able to keep adding on pieces and applications that would help us communicate better with students. But there were some limitations with the way we were doing it before MassMailer. So we were really looking for a better way to communicate and do outreach with students in a bulk capacity. And as I mentioned, we were trying to meet the needs of 8 different college and program-based advising offices, and they needed a reliable way to communicate with targeted groups of students depending on what kind of outreach they were doing at the time. But in addition to kind of needing that tool, we were trying to figure out a way to really get buy-in from the advisors and be able to provide a service for them that would really meet their needs as we tried to build up usage on campus and expand the way that we were using it.
Okay. And who are the actual business users who are actually communicating with students? Is that advisory team or? Yeah.
Yes, those are academic advisors and advising directors, and also some other offices that we've added in over time, but they're predominantly student-facing staff who are working on anything related to holistic student success.
Okay. And how frequent they have to communicate with students? Is it pretty regular or?
It's absolutely regular, but what we needed, because they do a lot of one-on-one work with students, and we have a case management system where students are assigned advisors can use Salesforce to manage their caseload. What we really needed in MassMailer was to be able to expand our central assistance to these advising offices. And we really needed something that they could trust. So we really wanted to have a clear process in place for requesting that a bulk communication be sent to students and have them know that we could accurately and efficiently execute a campaign on their behalf.
Okay. What type of communication is that?
It predominantly email campaigns to students that are bulk campaigns.
Got it. And before MassMailer, what were you using to send these emails?
We were sending emails through Outlook. We were doing mail merges. We really didn't have a central system. So each of the offices was kind of on their own to figure out themselves how to email their own groups of students. And because it was so important to us that we better align advising and coordinate advising across all these disparate offices, being able to have MassMailer and our advising case management system gave us the opportunity to help them and support them by sending these communications on their behalf.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about the process change and the benefits that you really saw after migrating to MassMailer?
Yeah, so we had a lot of issues trying to send bulk communications before MassMailer. We had limitations in the number of emails we could send out. There wasn't as much flexibility in who we could send it from, who it was going to, and to the reply to email address. And we really didn't have, it was a very time-consuming process. So in other words, when we first started using Salesforce and saying we can help the advising offices, but before we had MassMailer, we would try to send out the bulk email through Salesforce, but it was a very time-consuming process, and we needed a long lead time for the requests that were coming in. Part of that was because we had to if we wanted to send out a bulk email through Salesforce on behalf of someone, we had to deactivate the user, kind of sign in as the user in order for the email to come from them. So we were constantly having to manipulate the system, and it took a lot of setup to be able to send out those initial bulk emails from our advising case management system. So some of the things that we were so happy about that MassMailer gave us the ability to do was that there was so much of the back-end infrastructure that we could build in and be able to automate things. And it really gave us the ability to leverage the tool to look at some of the Salesforce objects and build these lists in the back end. And so then we could use templates, and we could save different list views, and we could clone and update campaigns very easily.
Perfect. And do you have dedicated admins as well who are supporting all these business users?
Yes, we do. So we have a team, and we have a Salesforce admin. And in addition to that, we have a person who is advising technology specialist.
Okay. And the business users, they are pretty much like power users. They are able to use the tool their own, not needing much of a help from the admins?
I would say it's a real range, because we've worked over time to really build up the number of advisors who are active power users and who really understand how to use the system. But at the same, and we have a users group that meets regularly to kind of talk through problems.
Okay. And you are using this tool only for advising at this point, but do you see a need for recruitment as well?
Is primarily the focus of it is for sure advising. We cut across with our admissions folks who do the recruiting of students, if that's what you mean. And so we're partners with them, and they do also have some access, because especially as students enter the university for the new student orientation, we do a lot of work in the tool for that.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And if you were to tell other universities that may have the advising team, how do you really position MassMailer to them?
Yeah, well, I would say that for us, especially because I can give you an example. We're doing some pretty complicated campaigns where if we didn't have some of the features that are in MassMailer, we would not be able to do this. And so something that's important for us is, as I mentioned, the ability to alias the sender and the reply for multiple senders in one outreach, and also the ability to use related objects to compile and distribute a bulk email. And so what we do, we have something we call the early alert campaign, and early alerts are submitted by our faculty at the midpoint in the semester, and that's to give students some early information on how they're doing in their classes. And after the early alert campaign, we then help advisors and deans of the colleges do follow-up and outreach to help make sure that students who received alerts are getting the help that they need and they're getting connected to resources. And one thing we do is we send out a series of letters on behalf of the academic deans of the colleges. And so when we first started this before MassMailer, we had to set up a letter from each dean, figure out which students belong to each dean, and then just really make sure that everything was in place and that we weren't making any mistakes. And with MassMailer, we've been able to set it up so that all the deans approve the same letter, and then it just gets set up so that once it's set up with MassMailer, it looks at the academic program of each student receiving the email, pulls the dean's name and the dean's kind of the college record that's associated with that program in Salesforce, and then the campaign just goes out, and we're able to do that so much easier with not as much setup time, and with just making sure that all the right students are getting the right letters. And we've been able to gain the trust of the deans and the advisors when these campaigns kind of go off without a hitch.
Yeah, seems like you're heavily using the personalization feature of MassMailer.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you were to call top three features of MassMailer, what are they?
I would just say those things. The piece of it that gives us the ability to just execute a very specific campaign using all the features to set up something that go to a very targeted group of students, but that's very precise. So that's one thing. And another thing is the ability to look at the metric. So that's been really helpful for us. And then, so I would say flexibility, the ease of use, and being able to target and look at the metrics. And to go back just for a second about the ease of use, we've been able to really show that it just saves us hours and hours of time as we execute the campaigns over how we were doing it initially.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And anything else that you would like to share?
I would just say that we've had this overarching goal with our advising case management to really engage the advisors across campus in our goal of aligning how we're providing support to students. So because the tool is so flexible and easy to use, we can meet the needs of a broad group of advisors and advising leaders through a centralized model, and we can track engagement so we can give them back metric. And so for us, it really helps us advance our holistic student success model of working with students.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so glad to know. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all your journey and the story. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Salesforce Center podcast by MassMailer. We truly appreciate your time and interest. If you would like to learn more about how MassMailer can help you simplify and supercharge your email outreach in Salesforce, visit us at massmailer.io or give us a call at 1-800-297-0991 or send us an email at hello@massmailer.io. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm 𝗟𝗧𝗏, and we'll meet you again in the next episode of the Salesforce Center. Take care.